Well, I hope that you've had a great day today. It seems that it's getting hotter and hotter every single day. I know at least that's how it's felt to me. I hope, again, that you're doing well. If you're hurting or suffering in any way, we, as always, want to let you know that we love you and we're praying for you. And if we can do anything at all for you, we just ask that you would ask us. We don't have any announcements tonight, so that means we can jump into Job chapter 7. So if you haven't read Job chapter 7, please pause the video, go read Job chapter 7, and we'll be ready to discuss the verses tonight. Job chapter 6, you remember from last week that Job is very upset with the friends. He is especially upset with Eliphaz, and he accuses the friends toward the end that their problem is they're not acting in a loyal manner to him, and because they're not being loyal to him, they should, get ready because God is going to punish them for that. That was Job chapter 6. Job chapter 7 is where we're at tonight, and Job is still speaking in chapter 7, but in chapter 7, instead of addressing the friends, Job is addressing God. So we will start out, Job chapter 7, we'll start in verses 1 and 2. Has not man a hard service on earth? And are not his days like the days of a hired hand? Like a slave who longs for the shadow, and like a hired hand who longs for his wages. So I am allotted months of emptiness, and nights of misery are apportioned to me. Job starts out by describing some laborers. He starts out with, has not man a hard service, which more than likely refers to forced labor. We see that sometimes in the Bible, especially for military purposes. But has man not a hard service on earth, and are not his days like the days of a hired hand? So Job first talks about people, like we said, with the phrase a hard service, talking about forced labor. Then he talks about a hired hand. That is a person that doesn't have work but will work for somebody if they're willing to hire them. And lots of times these hired hands, they were very, very poor. They didn't have any food. They were scared that they weren't going to be able to feed their family. So they would go out and they would look for any work that was available, and they would hire themselves to people, and usually they were paid at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, when they looked at their wages, they weren't very satisfied because they couldn't get a lot of food with what they were paid. But nonetheless, these people would show up at the marketplace, and they would, wait for someone to hire them for the day. But then we get done talking about the hired hand, and we read in verse 2, like a slave who longs for the shadow. Slave, the word for slave, has a very broad meaning. We know that foreign slaves, that they're either captured and brought back from war, or they're sold in order to pay off a debt. That's foreign slaves. We know that sometimes the Israelites would sell themselves as slaves in order to pay off a debt. Either way, whatever slave we're talking about here, the slave obeys his master's will. That's what he has to look forward to, is obeying his master's will. But notice what the hired hand looks forward to. The hired hand looks forward to his wages. That's what he looks forward to. The slave obeys his master's will, but as he's working, he's not working for wages, but he does have a reward in mind as he's working throughout the day. He's looking forward to that shadow. Maybe he's looking forward, as he's very hot, to get to sit under a tree, and that tree provides shade around him, and he can find some rest and be cool for a little while. The hired hand, as he works throughout the day, however hard his work might be, He's thinking about that money he's getting at the end of the day, and maybe he's thinking about that little morsel of food that he'll put in his mouth, and maybe he's thinking about the food that he'll have to provide for his family. He's thinking about all of these things. This helps the hired hand and the slave press on. Job, though, says, I am allotted months of emptiness, and nights of misery are a portion to me. Okay, being a hired laborer and a slave, that's not fun. It's not something that people would look forward to, but at least they have little comforts in their mind that help them get throughout the day. Job says, no, not with me. I have been given months of emptiness, and I have nights of misery. That's what I have to look forward to. I have nothing to look forward to. Job, he's not able to find any joy in his current situation at all. Now, nights of misery and those months of emptiness may give us an idea of how long Job has been suffering. You know, we wonder, how much time passes in all of these events, and we just don't know. Maybe this gives us an idea. Maybe Job has been suffering for months, maybe years. I don't know. I don't think that's the point. I don't think the point is to tell us that. I think the point is to tell us that Job is in a bad situation, and his life right now, it's not good at all. Verses 4 and 5. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise? But the night is long, and I am full of tossing till the dawn. My flesh is clothed with worms and dirt. My skin hardens, then breaks out afresh. We might think, Job, you can't find any joy at all in your current situation. Can you not find any peace at all? We would think, well, Job, surely when you lie down to sleep at night, that's when you get some type of relief, because you'll just pass out at night like a hired laborer who's worked all day and can have a great night's rest and be ready for the next day. Surely, Job, your afflictions, they just cause you so much grief and struggle during the day that you just pass out at night, and that's where you find your relief. But Job says, no. I have no relief at night. I lie down, but when I lie down, I think, when am I going to wake up? All night, Job tosses and he turns, and the night, it's like it's just creeping by. It's going so slowly, and Job just lays there. And because the night's going so slowly, he realizes all his hardships and his pains. They're acute at night. The night is long, and I'm full of tossing till the dawn. My flesh is clothed with worms and dirt. My skin hardens, then breaks out afresh. Well, Job, what do you have forward to look to when you wake up in the morning, when you're finally able to wake up? Well, when Job's able to wake up, he realizes that his skin is full of dirt. Worms have bred in his skin. His skin cracks and it oozes because he has those boils, remember, from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. It scabs up. And then it just repeats. Nights are terrible for Job. Mornings are terrible for Job. Afternoons are terrible for Job. The whole time Job lives. Terrible. That's why he can find no joy in his current situation. In verse 6, this is what Job says. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and come to their end without hope. Job realizes that his days are passing very, very swiftly. And he compares his days to a weaver's shuttle that goes back and forth on the loom, but eventually when this cloth is made, eventually the thread will be cut and it will separate the loom from the cloth. Job feels like God is almost done with his cloth and he's about ready to cut the thread. Seems like Job's days are almost over. It's like his body too just can't take any more of what he's experiencing. Verse 7. Remember that my life is a breath. My eye will never again see good. Now, when we see the word remember here, this is where we definitely see that Job is addressing God. He's telling God, God, remember that my life is a breath, God. Please, God, may I remind you that human life doesn't last forever. My eye will never again see good. Job's eye will never again experience pleasure. You know, that's something that we see in Psalms, that a person that has many days on the earth experiences pleasure. There's pleasure in the daily activities that we involve ourselves in. Job is worried. Job is worried that when he dies, he's never going to experience those pleasures anymore. God, I need you to remember, God, that my life isn't going to last forever. So do something. But Job's worried that God is going to do nothing. He's not going to intervene, and he's not going to stop his suffering. And because he's not going to stop his suffering, Job is not going to experience the pleasures of life anymore. Verses 8 through 10. The eye of him who sees me will behold me no more. While your eyes are on me, I shall be gone. As the cloud fades and vanishes, so he who goes down to Sheol does not come up. He returns no more to his house, nor does his place know him any more. Well, this is it. Job is telling God, if you're going to do something, because my life is a breath. It is it's as swift as a weaver's beam, God. My life is passing by so swiftly. So if you're going to do something, God, I need you to do something, because God, here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that one day you're going to be looking for me. It's like you're searching for me, but you can't find me anymore, God. And you can't find me anymore because I'm gone. So God, do something while you can see me. Because God, I fear there's coming a time where you're not going to be able to see me anymore. And you're going to want to, but I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be in Sheol. And when I'm in Sheol, I cannot return. That's what Sheol is, the place of no return. I'm going to be nowhere to be found, God. My life, like we've said 100 times, it's passing so swiftly, God. If you don't do something, I'm going to be gone. You're going to look for me, and my life will have vanished like a cloud that goes across the sky. It vanishes without a trace. So God, please do something. He returns no more to his house, nor does his place know him anymore. We'll go to verse 11. Therefore, I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Job reaffirms to God, God, I'm going to lament my present distress because Why not? I mean, I should be able to tell you what I'm experiencing, shouldn't I, God? Job's soul is vexed. It is filled up with anguish, and it's like it's going to explode. So in order for him to release some of that anguish, he utters his complaints to God. Are they harsh? Yeah, it seems that they're ever progressing too. God, I'm going to complain. I'm going to complain about the things that are happening to me. Now, Job wants to complain to God because he thinks that if he complains enough and he complains loud enough, maybe God will hear him and intervene. Remember, Job wants to experience those pleasures. He doesn't want to die where he can't experience the pleasures of the day anymore. He wants to experience those. So God, I need you to act. Verse 12. Am I the sea or a sea monster that you set a guard over me? Verse 13. When I say my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint, then you scare me with dreams and terrify me with visions so that I would choose strangling and death rather than my bones. I loathe my life. I would not live forever. Leave me alone, for my days are a breath. Job really, really wants some relief, and he wants that relief in the night also. But he can't find it, because when he goes to sleep, God sends those horrifying visions, those scary visions to Job, and it keeps him up, and it's like he starts to choke, and he can't catch his breath, and he feels like he's going to die, and his bones ache so much that he feels like he's going to die. Job is really going through it. Imagine that when we suffer, or at least I think most people, they try to find some relief, even if it's just temporary, even if it's just for a moment. Maybe they'll go and they'll stay by themselves for a little while so that they don't have to hear anything. They can just sit in silence. Or maybe it's they go and they try to get with some of their friends and they try to take their mind off of whatever they're suffering. Or we try to find relief when we're physically suffering. We take medicine and we try to get all the relief that we can. Job just wants some relief, but he can't find any relief. What does that do? That just increases his emotional pain. Probably increases his physical pain too if he's thinking about his pain all the time. But it also increases his spiritual pain because he still can't see why God has done this to him. Verse 16. I loathe my life. I would not live forever. Leave me alone for a few days. Leave me alone, for my days are a breath. Job's very sarcastic at the beginning of that verse. I loathe my life. I would not live forever. God, again, realize my life is fleeting. So God, just leave me alone. Just for a few days. Just leave me alone, God, and give me some relief. I know I'm going to die, God. I know I'm going to die. But just for a few days, could you stop afflicting me? Just for a few days, God, could you give me some rest? Just for a few days, God, could I find some peace? Notice that Job thinks his last couple days would be better without God. We're going to pick up at the end of chapter 7 next week. We're out of time. I hope that you have a great rest of the week. If I can do anything for you, please let me know. I can't wait to see everybody Sunday. God bless.